Well, hello again, everybody. Dan John here from danjohnuniversity.com and danjohn.net. It's time for episode number 56, and it just shocks me that time has been going by this fast. We had a comment on one of my YouTube videos that I spend way too much time referencing Dan John University, and I thought, well, that's interesting, because there's a good reason I do that. First, the forum is fantastic. The people are very kind and helpful there. We have all the podcasts, we have videos, we have a huge download section of basically free books for you, articles, and then we have the workout generator. 99% of the people I know, all they need is the workout generator. We ask you what equipment you have. We ask you how many days a week you want to work out, how long. And then you push the button and boom, you get the workouts. If an exercise isn't appropriate for you that day, you can press the little button and slide up in intensity, make it harder, or go the other way and make it a little bit easier. If you don't know how to do an exercise, you press the button and we give you a little demonstration. The workouts are all there for the entire week. Boom, one button push and they're all there. And as you complete the workouts, it keeps refreshing and sometimes pushing you into new movements, but very often just trying to keep you consistent. When Brian put this together, I told him he reached into my brain and pulled out what I've been trying to say to people for years. So don't forget, as long as this coronavirus is hitting us, we have a special going on. It's $29 for 3 months. It's supposed to be $29 a month. We still have expenses. We have to pay for things. We have to pay for people. But for 29 bucks a month is good. But 29 bucks for 3 months is outstanding. Remember, as you sign up, just type in all capital letters, Corona, for the discount. I sure hope you look into it. We have a free 2-week membership, and I stand behind it. I think it's amazing. Okay, so our first question is from Ron. Ron says, since lockdown in March, my son has been showing up 3 times a week to join in with me with some lifting. We start off with some simple routines, push-ups, pull-ups, goblet squats, some dumbbell work, and the 30 for 30 workout. He's shown a lot of interest and is making some enviable progress. Oh, to be a teenager again. Unfortunately, he takes after his old man with regard to body type. He's 6 feet already, very lean, narrow waist, etc., and very mobile. We started barbell training, presses, squats, and rows, but his ability to handle larger loads is hindered by his core column strength. Thanks for using both words. Especially regarding squats. I'm worried he'll lose interest if he spends too much time on core strength training. Is there a way he can do some basic barbell lifts and incorporate some core work without the training being too long-winded and boring? Boy, Ron, that's a good question, and it's one of the reasons that sometimes training adults, especially adult females, can be so hard in the weight room. You're talking about his lack of core strength, but really, okay, and we'll address that, but I want you to think about something else first, is his understanding of tension. That's why I'm such a big fan of the goblet squat, the overhead squat, the suitcase carry, the farmer walk. I call those moving planks, because what happens is as you do those movements, you have to stay rigid from the top to the tip to the bottom from sole to ceiling. I mean, you got to be locked down. Now, you can also do it with push-up position planks. I do those glute bridge or hip thrusts where you just hold the top position like a plank. I would make sure you throw in some of those, but as teaching moments. So when you do the push-up position plank, grip and rip the ground, squeeze those armpits in as tight as you can, squeeze the knees together, and focus on the squeezing, the tension, and not on the time. When you do that, the hip thrust or glute bridge, and you hold that isometric, squeeze your butt cheeks as tight as you can. Make your ab wall contract. Squeeze everything and practice in those 2 movements. Tension. When you slide over to the goblet squats, just watch if he's sloppy or not when he comes up and down. And I've worked with a lot of teenagers, and at first there is that when they get one part of it, it seems like something else falls off. And that's actually okay. That's why I moved from the goblet squat to the overhead squat when I train young athletes, is because the overhead squat is going to demand total body tension while moving. The suitcase carry, total body tension while moving. The farmer walk is good, but I think in this case, the suitcase carry is going to be better. It's going to sound weird, but the prescription is overhead squats and suitcase carries, but we may have to build up to both of those. It is time under the bar. Load does train tension, that's true, but you also have to practice things like, if you're doing, I don't see deadlifts here, but if you're doing deadlifts, which probably wouldn't be a bad idea for him, you know, you got to lock down those hands. You got to lock down that back. You got to lock everything down. That's why I'm such a big fan of the thick bar deadlift. Now, you can buy fat grips online. I don't sell them. I don't know where you get them. I'm always amazed when people don't know how to find things online. I use a thing called Google or Bing or Yahoo search, and amazingly, I find everything within about a minute. But the fat grips, by having the compromised grip, it makes you lock down your whole body when you deadlift. I wouldn't necessarily do any ab or core work except maybe one thing, the hanging leg raise. So you can either do straight legs or bent legs. I prefer the bent knees to the chest. Somebody told me the straight legs was bad for your back, and I don't know if that's true or not. I really don't. But I do know that the nice thing about the bent leg is that you can squeeze weights or bags between your knees and make it much harder. That'd be the only traditional core exercise I recommend for right now, because by having to have the grip and the shoulders hanging, you're going to have maximal tension. That's not a bad. Those aren't bad things right there. So the suitcase carry and the hanging leg raise, that's you can do that tomorrow in your workout. The overhead squat you'll have to build up in, but I can almost guarantee that a few weeks of those things, and you'll see some real progress in those areas of the core, or what we call the column. Good luck. Get back to me. I hope it works. Thanks, Ron. Okay, this is an unusual question. This is Akil. My name is Akil. I'm 11 years old, and I turn 12 next month. I'm using my dad's email account. I'm a black belt in Ishin-Ryu Karate, and I'm also learning Taekwondo. Well, that's pretty impressive. My dad watches a lot of your videos and believes you know what you're talking about. Well, we'll see. I'm 35 kilos and on the slim side. Well, yeah, because you're 11. I want to be strong. I believe it will help me in everything, and particularly in my karate and taekwondo. My dad has given me a program that has push-ups, band pulls, squats with very light weights, 5 kilos, and deadlifts with weights on each hand. He says to wait till 13 to train seriously. That's good advice. There's nothing wrong with that. What else can I do, do you think, as he approaches proper weight training? My dad has bands, barbells, adjustable dumbbells, squat rack, 116K kettlebell, and a bench. Thank you for helping. Well, I'm glad to help you, Akil. Can I just say one thing before I get started, though? I do think it's kind of neat that you're writing me. One thing I did in my entire career was I would write letters to people. I do regret not writing one time. When I was at Utah State, Coach Mon said, if I'd have written him a letter, he would have given me a scholarship when I was in high school. I didn't think I was good enough, but which is that just kind of an interesting little thing there. So don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. One thing I'd like you to do now, if you know my work, just go online. You can go to the university and it'll be all cleared up for you at danjohnuniversity.com. But I would recommend you start looking at the Southwood program. Now, I'd like you to start light. It's going to be power clean, military, front squat, and bench press. The reps are a set of 8, a set of 6, and a set of 4. Type in my name and Southwood workout, and you'll find articles all over the net. Or it's in my new book, Attempts. In fact, it's quite clear. It's in the appendices of Attempts. But that program is for 11, 12, and 13-year-olds. It's very basic and very fundamental. I would keep doing what your dad told you to do, but maybe every so often run a few weeks, just a few weeks of the Southwood program so you can practice the different movements, okay? I think it's really cool that you emailed me, and you know I'm here to help, okay? Thanks so much. We have a question from Zale. Zale asks, during the summers, I like to work out outside. Me too. How can I modify easy strength using primary or only loaded carries? I don't know. I've never heard someone ask about that. My recommendation is, of course, we do loaded carries in easy strength, but you never repeat the same workout. One thing you might want to do is every day do farmer walk, bear hug carry, bear crawl, and hill sprints. You would end up being in fabulous shape. But I'm just not sure easy strength is going to be the idea. Remember, with easy strength, we're just trying to nudge our nervous system into getting stronger. Now, I mean, you can use the principles. For example, whenever you do a farmer walk, always stay well within yourself, or a bear hug carry, stay well within yourself, but you have to do it every single day. If you don't find that boring, I think it's a really good idea. Question number 2. How can I modify easy strength to do upper back armor building to develop my neck, traps, posterior delts, and rhomboids? Well, all you need to do is just bring in some kind of pulling exercise. Horizontal pulls don't generally work well in easy strength because to get in that position, it puts some stress on the lower back. And by doing it 40 days in a row, some people say it bugs them. But, you know, develop your neck, traps, posterior delts, and rhomboids. It's going to be, well, the neck, I mean, if you have a neck machine. And you could, actually, if you have a neck machine, you could train the neck every single day. People have come out with some new halos now that you can wear and do home training. I think it's some good idea. Back in the day, we used to use those neck harnesses. And there's a really good, if you ever watch The Office, Dwight goes to a gym one time and uses the neck harness. I don't know if he uses it correctly, but it's fun to watch. You can certainly do neck work every day. The traps, the posterior delts, and the rhomboids, boy, if you Olympic lift, you're going to get those. But maybe something as simple as snatch grip deadlifts and shrugs. So Dick Notmeyer used to have me do those. It's the wide grip. When you get to the top, you shrug it up. It's a great exercise. I hope this helps. Thank you. Joseph says, can I use your contrarian approach method for training the discus for shot put? Are there any changes you would recommend? Yeah, we did it with the javelin, we did it with the shot put, did it with the high jump, did it every event. Everything I coach is done that method. If you're a glider, we add a couple exercises. Obviously one we add is like the Braemar stone from the Highland Games. Get the heaviest shot you can find, or just a big rock, and throw. And one of the things is standing throws, no reverse, throwing the rock. The other station is, if for gliders, is we either put a sandbag on the back or a vest, and they just do multiple glides. No throws, just the glide part. Glide, 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 glide. But everything else, yeah, absolutely no change at all. It actually works very well for the shot put, because one of the things you're not going to be taking a ton of throws for distance doing some of the things we teach you. So you're not going to ingrain. One of the problems shot putters have is they get too much feedback. You know where the shot hit every time. So you might get yourself in this weird little personal contest of, say like you threw 40 feet. The next throw you try to 40 feet, 6 inches, and then you frustrate and essentially start to train to failure. But with this approach, you won't. You'll be throwing against walls, you'll be doing drills, and when you go out to throw, you'll be technically ready to go. And I also recommend you try what we call the Soviet drill in the book, or range throwing. I would suggest almost doing that daily. For those you don't know, real quick, it's when you have the athlete warm up. You take 6 hard throws. You really try to go for it, and then you whatever one the longest, you then bring it back a little bit. You know, in the shot put, 3 or 4 feet, a meter and a half, that's all you really need to come back on. In the discus, you can go back 5 meters, about 18, 20 feet. In fact, it's kind of fun to play around with that. And what we do with the discus, we put a hoop, a hula hoop in the center or a garbage can. So say I threw 180 feet, 55 meters. We put the garbage can at 50 meters, 165. And what I'm trying to do is throw it into the garbage can. So it's still throwing, but I've changed the rules a little bit. And it's fun sometimes after you do about 20, 25 throws, then just take, okay, I'm going to go for it. And just take one hard throw and just see what happens after all those range throws. Sometimes, for some athletes, it's the best throw of their life. Other athletes fail miserably when they try to torque it back up. It's a great drill. And over time, of course, what you want to do is, what we're trying to teach you to do is push those easy throws up a little bit, okay? I hope that helps. Thank you. Okay, we have a question from Bucko. Bucko, you said in the podcast that with the swing, there is a diminishing returns to swinging over 70 pounds. Well, yeah, I mean, we had the 48 kilo bell, the 106, and you know, I can do swings with it. Having said that, half the load, the 24 kilo 53 pounder, I think they're much better for what swings are supposed to be for. Those dynamic, snappy sets of 15 that I do seem to feel like throwing the discus or throwing the javelin or hammer. With the 48, I feel like I'm so locked down with tension that it's a fun party trick, but I'm not getting anything out of it. Yeah, and that your technique needs to be locked in from that point, which I just said. I was wondering at what point diminishing returns will be for the kettlebell snatch. Is there much benefit to snatching heavier than a 53-pound kettlebell? Also, when snatching a 70-pound or heavier kettlebell, should you lower it to the shoulder or lower it at the top of the lift? Well, I mean, if you're doing a kettlebell certification, you always throw the kettlebell down. But if I just have to ask why you're doing it. If it's to show off for all the billions of people on the planet Earth who are fascinated by heavy kettlebell snatches, then that's different. Okay, that was sarcasm, it was an attempt at humor. I actually think there's not a lot of value for most people over a 16 or 35 pound snatch. The snatch is a interesting cardiovascular workout. And if I could get you, one day, Coach Barbiero and I, we had this kind of silly contest. Who could get to 200 snatches the fastest with the 16K or 35 pound kettlebell? And I got to tell you, folks, I've done a lot of hard things in my life, but I gotta toss that into the higher group. It was brutal, and it wasn't brutal on the grip. It was brutal on the hearts and lungs because you are doing a full body movement, very dynamically, and it was an interesting workout. I'll tell you that. So yeah, So let's just answer the questions you've asked, Bucko. Yeah, I don't think you need to go much heavier than the tested kettlebell, which is the 24. No, I don't think, and if you are going to go heavier, I think for safety's sake, this isn't a terrible idea. Though if you're going to compete in GS or do the certs, they'll fail you for that. So it's just, I think it's safer for the home practitioner to do that, but with the caveat that if you want to compete or be in the certifications, those won't be allowed. Okay, thank you. We got a question from Matthew, and I think Matthew is one of our heroes. I am the head cross-country coach at a junior high in southwestern Missouri. The upcoming cross-country season is coming up with many limitations due to COVID. I know, God bless you. Specifically, the logistics of moving 60-plus athletes, good job, through a workout routine while maintaining distance. Short briefing, up to 60 7th and 8th grade co-ed runners. Many getting into athletics for the first time, some with extensive endurance experience. Must maintain distance when unmasked. Unmasked during strenuous activity. No shared equipment. I got you. I do have access to a track, a long hill, a grass course. Heat restrictions require many practices indoors. Cross country gets a short stick and often works out in hallways. Any insights and suggestions? Well, the first thing, I would start thinking about kind of an older school approach, but think about using circuits in your training. So what you're trying to do is get the kids' heart rates up, right, and have them run. So you could do something as simple as a loop, a hill sprint, a bear crawl, maybe something as simple as some member of the abdominal family, whether it's sit-ups or whatever you knee raises, whatever you think. Maybe put together 4 or 5 items. One of the things I do want your athletes to do is get on the ground and get back up, get on the ground and get back up, run a real high, hard hill, and maybe at the top of the hill, rest, walk down. When they walk down, do sit-ups, repeat, and try to circuit train that up. The nice thing about doing that is you're going to get these big gaps between your athletes. They're going to have a way to work on some other ways to get their cardiovascular training in, and you could be actually fun. You may have to walk them through it once or twice, but when I was at Skyline, we had a very good cross-country team, and they used the PAR course that was on our campus, and that's where you run, and then you have a station where you do step-ups. You run to the next station and do monkey bars. You run to the next station and do really a stretch, and then you come to a hill and you really attack that hill, and then after that hill, you walk, and then maybe you do a balance beam. I would suggest putting together your own PAR course idea and trying that. Now, indoors, holy cow, man, heat restrictions, COVID, indoors, how many fastballs are you going to throw at your head at once? I was told once that Buddha's last words were, do your best. All I can tell you from the heart is, man, do your best, okay? Maybe you can email me personally. Maybe we can talk on the phone a little bit and maybe help you through on this, okay? And by the way, be sure you tell your students that I put cross-country and wrestling into those 2 high school sports that I always tell people, if I saw that you were a high school wrestler for 4 years, I know something about you. And if you ran cross-country, I know something about you. When I was at Utah State, Coach Mon told me, always make sure you tell your professors you're a discus thrower. And I go, okay, Coach, whatever. Well, I'd walk up and I'd talk to my economics professor, my math instructor, and I would say, I'm a discus thrower, I'm going to miss some days in the spring. And they always, almost universally, had a track and field background and very often would tell me that they ran cross-country in high school. I know this about anybody who runs cross-country. You have a high level of self-discipline, and you know how to put it out there. I hope that helps. Remember, ping me back. We'll share phone calls, and let's get that done. Bye-bye. Great question from Fiona. Fiona is a great name. There you go. My favorite Broadway musical is Brigadoon, so there you go. I would like to improve my deadlift. Currently, 85 kilos is going up nicely for me, and 90 kilos feels hard. Well, yeah, it's heavier. I managed a 95 kilo recently with difficulty. Obviously, it would be nice to make 100 kilos go up nicely in the near future. But I only have access to 60 kilograms max to practice with, and I can only get my hands on the big weights very sporadically. Is there anything you could suggest to help me head towards this 100 kilos? I try to do kettlebell swings regularly in the hope it will magically improve everything I do. What's funny, as I was going to tell you, to do kettlebell swings. Fiona, in my experience, it's kind of only 2 ways. It's an absolute, what we call barbell theory in finance, okay? Either to improve your deadlift, either never deadlift and do everything else that would support it. Heavy loaded carries, the Olympic lifts, really heavy farmer bars, hangs, loaded hangs, and never do them and then test them out. That was the system I used. The other one is the deadlift 5 days a week with light loads in practice. So we actually are going to be able to play with both sides of this. One of the things I'd like you to think about, Fiona, now your technique has to be in and drop the weight if anything starts to talk. But one thing you might want to play around with is higher reps. Like put on 40 or, let's try this. First workout, 30 kilos, just get used to it. And do a set of 20. Next workout, stay with the 30 and do a set of 20. Kind of the same way I challenge people in body mass with doing higher reps with lighter loads. Maybe work yourself up to 3 sets of 20 in the light deadlift. See how you feel, see how things are going, and then play with sets of, sets of 10, 15, and 20, and progressively kind of just gently kind of rise your way up to make, well, I tell you, if you can do 60K for 20, I'm thinking you might be able to pull that 100. Then it stops working. High reps for deadlifts work until they stop working. But you're going to get some benefits of when you first do it. I've mentioned this before. My friend Lane Cannon of blessed memory fell in hard to all this high intensity training stuff, and he got his trap bar deadlift up to 405, 182.5 kilos for 20 reps. And then when he maxed, he got 185 kilos for one. And so it works until it doesn't. Okay? So I'd like you to kind of think about this in 2 ways. You don't tell me much here, like your weight or how many days a week you lift. But Fiona, I'm thinking 1, maybe 2 sessions a week of the higher rep safe deadlifts. 1, maybe 2 sessions a week of swings. Do that for a while and don't worry about those big lifts. Just don't worry about it. And then down the line, when you get a chance, just go into the weight room and see what you can do. Just play around and see what you can do. I often joke, I only deadlifted hard 3 times my entire career. 2 were for bets, and the 3rd one was because I was exhausted at 3 in the morning at a powerlifting meet, and I asked the official, what's the next heaviest load? And he said, well, just add 2.5 kilos to this, and that's what I deadlift. My max deadlift was done so we could all just go home that night. It's not a very scientific approach, but I was the best deadlifter at the only powerlifting meet I was ever at. I hope this helps. Fiona, if there's anything unclear, resend the email with a few things like body weight and how much load we can actually play with in the gym. Okay? Thank you. So we have a question from Ricky. He asks us, during 3 months of lockdown in Scotland, boy, you could pick a worse place to be locked down, I went from doing 50 sets of 10 diamond push-ups every minute on the minute style, 50 minutes. My recovery and muscle endurance got better fast, and I quickly moved over to as many rounds as possible for time on a good day. I was knocking out 50 sets of 10 diamonds in under 30 minutes, 500 push-ups. I switched over to 30 minutes of every minute on the minute double overhead press with double 24s for 5 reps, 150 total. That's been my workout for the past couple of months. I feel stronger, but just tried to do my old lockdown push-up workout and had to scale it back to every minute on the minute, failing on the 29th set, and then he has 3 question marks. Has my strength endurance got worse, or perhaps I've just gotten less productive in that one motion due to absence? I'm confused, as I have sworn I was stronger. So Ricky, the basic question Ricky's asking is, okay, I did this exercise for a long time, and then I always joke, out of nowhere, I stopped doing it, and then when I came back, I lost. It's weird because for me, pull-ups are the one that just, if I'm doing pull-ups, I'm doing pull-ups. I mean, my max, my test sets are pretty good. Oh boy, somewhere between 8 and 15, okay? If I stop doing pull-ups, fine do one or two. It's just the specificity of things, Ricky. It's true in every aspect of what we do in the weight room. Oddly, there are a few movements that you don't seem to lose a lot if you take time off. The big one is the deadlift. But I even noticed with the clean and jerk that if I took 6 to 8 weeks off from the clean and jerk, I'd come right back and be fine. I think it's the complementary movements around the lift that are important. With the deadlift, every set of pull-ups works your grip. Every set of farmer bars works your grip. So when you go grab that bar off the ground to deadlift it, everything's pretty close to where it needs to be. Ricky, this is just a classic example of specific strength issues. You got up to 500 push-ups and you stopped doing them for a while. Well, 500's on the top end of, pretty impressive for push-ups. I really wish you'd just stick with those overhead presses. I think long-term you'll be a lot happier with your shoulders by doing the overhead work. And I think it's a lot more impressive to press the 24 kilos for 100 total reps in a workout, 150 total reps, than a bunch of push-ups. It's a classic issue with doing an exercise for a while, stopping, and then coming back to it. One thing you will notice, if you train on machines, you don't lose very much at all. With the Olympic lifts, you drop off a lot in the snatch, a little bit in the clean and jerk. I think the more complex a movement is, the more likely you are going to have that drop off. Ricky, you're training hard. Make sure you're training smart. Thank you. We have a question from Joni, and Joni asks, I'm planning to start the ladder method based on the article in T Nation. I train 3 times a week. Do I perform squat, pull, push, and deadlift in one workout? Can I have press and bench press in the program at the same time? All right, so ladders are, there's ladders and rungs and a whole bunch of other stuff. But gentle listener, basically it's just this. I do a set of 1, then I do a set of 2, then I do a set of 3. With the same load, I come back and do 1, 2, 3 again, 1, 2, 3. Or if you want to advance from there, the way I like to advance from there is 2, 3, 5. If hypertrophy is your interest, 2, 3, 5, 10. What's nice about ladders in a workout is that you can get a lot of fresh volume. You don't do a lot of tired reps. I'm a big fan of 3 sets of 8, but let's be honest, if you're doing 3 sets of 8 with a minute rest, that last rep can be exhausting. You're asking, can you do squat, push, pull, and deadlift in one workout with ladders? Yeah, it's going to be a hard workout. I would suggest I would like to know where you are in load, but if you do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5, you're looking at, between 12 and 20 reps for the squat and the deadlift. That's going to be a tough workout. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 in the deadlift, 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5 in the squat. With the press and the pulls, you can certainly do more volume. And then you ask if you can do, I'm guessing, overhead press and bench press in the program at the same time. Yeah, I have a rule if you do that. If you have a total of 20 reps in the press, you do 2, 3, 5, let's say 40 reps. 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5 in the bench, 2, 3, 5, 2, 3, 5 in the overhead squat. I expect 40 total reps in the pull, and I expect 40 total reps in the squat. And it's that squat thing that makes most people rethink that. I prefer you went 2 weeks of overhead and 2 weeks of bench, but it's all up to you. I hope that helped, Joni, and thanks for asking about ladders. I don't hear as much about them as I used to. Thank you. Chris asks, am I inviting injury by not practicing squats on easy strength? Honestly, Chris, you have to read my work on easy strength. I say time and time again, no one has ever really been able to make easy strength the 40-day program work with squats. Do goblet squats in the warm-up. I've tried it. Lots of people have tried it. You play way too many workouts with the loads in the 40 to 50%. But I just find it, and we had a long discussion on the Dan John Q&A at davedraper.com. I'm sure you can find it easy. I think it's a sticky on there where there's these long conversations of trying to make squats work in easy strength. If you don't mind, here's my, square peg, round hole. I've got the ability to make that fit. It's easier to put a round peg in a round hole, but I can make that square peg work. So let's go on to your question. Can I continue using easy strength for fat loss? For those who don't know, go to YouTube and you can find my workshop on that, or just go to danjohnuniversity.com and just follow it. Until I meet my goal of losing 20 pounds, even if it takes several rounds. Can I continue? Yeah, you can do easy strength for fat loss for a long time. Now, after probably 40 days of it, or maybe 80 days of it, I would suggest maybe a break. And that's really more for here than for here. But you might want to move to something a little bit more dynamic or ballistic or something more traditional. But yeah, you could stick with it until you get to your goal. It's not a bad idea. Should I vary the movements, or am I going to create imbalances keeping it as written? Well, if you do the original, you shouldn't have too many imbalances. It's a pretty sound program. Overhead press and pull up. People who do that tend to be okay in the shoulder and then this area here with their upper back and their spinal column. If you're doing the deadlift and you're doing the swings, you're not going to get too imbalanced. Remember, we're trying to encourage fat loss in the program, and if you have issues with fat, let's take care of that first. I always, mentally, my thing is always, fixable injuries, fat loss, mobility. If you need a surgery, that's the most important thing. If you need rehabilitation, that's the most important thing. If you're carrying around a little bit too much, if you don't need a surgery, are you carrying too much extra adipose tissue? And then the third thing is mobility issues. And then number 4 would be building lean body mass. And then after that, we'd worry about things like spring or explosion or whatever you want to call it today. Should you vary the movements? I wouldn't mind if after the second round and you took that short break, you varied the movements a little bit. Chris, these are all questions that I think you will kind of deal with when you get through the second round of it. These will become very apparent to you because you might just be really bored of doing the same thing over and over. On to your first question, I always recommend goblet squats in the warm-up if you're doing an easy strength protocol. If you feel you need to do that, toss them in, okay? The easy strength for fat loss is a whole program. Just do this for 2 months and see if you make progress. And if you don't, well, let's move on to something else. But you can certainly add goblet squats as a warm-up, okay? Thank you, Chris. That's a good question. Well, there you go. Another episode of the podcast. Remember, if you have questions, email them to podcast@danjohnuniversity.com. I'm happy to answer any question, but remember now, we get a lot of the same questions, so if I don't answer your question, just look in the archives at either Dan John University or on YouTube. Thank you so much.